Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am your host, Rashida McFerrin, and today in the Rich Auntie Life series, we are talking about family drama part 2. Are you ready? Because I have a ton of tea. Before we get started, I want you to head over to beacons.ai/Rashida McFerrin and check out all of our course offerings and our freebies, and then come back over here and spend a good 10 minutes with us. There's no formality to this episode. I just know a lot of drama is going on at home where I'm from in Tennessee. And so I have done a really good job of putting up my boundaries and just saying no. But even in you putting up your boundaries and just saying no, it still somehow tries to figure out how to find its way to you. And earlier this week, I just shut the person who was delivering the message down. I was like, look, I have enough stuff going on in my life right now as I'm trying to get adjusted in the transition that we're going through. I do not have time to deal with your drama. It does not have anything to do with me. I live up to 500 miles away from you intentionally because I left because of that. And it's so funny, as I love my mother, but as I'm always talking to her and I'm talking about the things that I experienced growing up in a chaotic environment, because our household was always chaotic. It was always drama. It was always fighting. It was always straight chaos. She has selective memory. And what happens in domestic violence situations, she was abused. We were abused by her second ex-husband, not my father. My father was just the deadbeat who didn't work, child, and didn't take care of none of his kids. But what happened with that, as far as her memory is concerned, she literally thinks that she was never hit. And I don't know if you know anything about domestic violence victims, but what happens in order for them to try to survive, they will suppress experiences, situations, memories, and things that were so traumatic just to get through a trying time. And that's what she has done. And she still, till this day, will sit up here and tell me and my sister, who lived in the household that was a hellhole, that none of the stuff that we experienced happened. And we just always look at her like, yo, you really probably need to go talk to somebody about that. Because if two people who were kids at the time are sitting here telling you that we have almost identical recollection of the things that were happening in our household and you don't remember any of it, I get it. It was traumatic. It's traumatic being beat as a child. It's traumatic for a 6'2" man to beat a 5'2" woman who is defenseless in her own right. It is absolutely traumatic. But what I have to say to that is, if you have gone through experiences like that and it has shaped the trajectory of your life, you have to get help. I started getting help for those bad experiences from my childhood when I was in college and then in grad school, because I refused to grow up to raise a child in that type of chaos. And bless my mom's heart, she was literally just doing what her mother wanted her to do. Back in the 80s, you didn't have the concept of what it meant to be a single parent as popular as it is today. And so my grandmother from the old school pressured her into getting married. And she married some Joe Blow off the street that nobody knew, that one of my uncles worked with, and didn't even tell us. And then all of a sudden brought this man home after we had met him twice, talking about, this is your new stepdaddy, he moving in. Wait, what? The next 5 years of my life proceeded to be some of the most traumatic, hell-bound years of my life. And I live to tell about it today. So when I say I have put boundaries up, even in regards to dealing with my mother, there are absolute things I refuse to talk about when she brings it up, especially from that time in my life where she wants to go down her memory lane and not talk about the reality of the situation. If she brings that man up, I automatically stop her and I tell her, either we're not going to talk about what you're about to talk about because there are no happy memories from that time in my life, or yours, no matter how you try to sugarcoat it. There are no happy memories from the 5 to 6 years that you were married to Satan in our house, period. And so, excuse me if, as I have grown into a healthy adult, have a child to raise on my own, that I am going to protect him come hell or high water from anything that might disturb the peace that I have created in my life for myself and my son. Look, I'm not doing it. And so when she asked me yesterday, well, what trauma have you gone through? Are you serious right now? And I had to like really stop and take a step back because, again, there are just some areas in her life that she refuses to deal with. They create drama within themselves in the nucleus of my family and then wonder why it spirals out of control. And then they call me when I'm 500 miles away and expect me to have some type of esoteric, I don't even know if that's visionary advice to help them out of the stuff that they created. There's nothing I can do about that. And then my sister, who is 4 years older than me, bless her soul, is almost a carbon copy of how my mom raised us. It's dysfunctional. And try to shed light on the fact of there is a different way to do things. But I have also accepted that I cannot save everybody. And I try to, because my son grew up with my sister's kids, I tried to expose her kids to as much as I exposed my son to. But at the same time, I also realized that took a toll over me over the years because let me be real, I expected them to evolve into independent individuals who were responsible for themselves and their choices. And that has happened maybe a fourth of them. And then they're always looking at me because I'm quote unquote the successful one as an ATM. I am not an ATM. I have my own financial responsibilities with myself, my family, and my son that I have to pay for. It is not my responsibility to take care of grown ass kids. You better get up and go get a job, period. She raised them to look at me as a path to always getting money, asking me for stuff. The reason I exposed them to so much stuff growing up is because I wanted them to see a different lifestyle and I wanted that to motivate something within them to go out and get it on their own. Instead of sitting in Memphis, Tennessee, making excuses about why something ain't happening and running back to Memphis every time something doesn't work outside of them trying to go out into the world. We are from the country, which is Somerville, Tennessee, but by default, you go to Memphis. And Memphis, when we were growing up, was a different city. It is not like that anymore. It is a dangerous city to live in. The years that guy was in control of it, the 20 or 30 years, what what city do you know in the United States of America has the same mayor for 20 or 30 years? It's unheard of. And that choice of the citizens that voted that man into office, which was supposed to be some type of huge progressive thing in the mid 90s, turned out to be to its detriment a million times 10. The city has never recovered from it. And so when I go home, honey, I go home to the country. I don't go home to hang out in Memphis. I go home to the country to see my folks, the ones who are not being dysfunctional in that moment. If there's anybody to see, which is very rarely, because I'm going to be honest, as I've gotten older and settled into my life and bought my own home and lived in where we live, I have just separated from the ties that I had there unless I absolutely have to go back because there is nothing for me there. I just want to say that if you are dealing with family drama, love yourself enough to be able to put up boundaries and stop people from wrecking your peace. And I just can't do it. And while I am empathetic to what's going on to a degree, kinda, and then to a degree, kinda not. Because this situation with them just keeps going around in circles over and over again. I'm like, why are you calling me? What do you want me to do about it? Don't put me into anything. No, do not call me. I have my own stuff that I am working out that I ain't got nothing to do with you. No. And it's like, I'm gonna say this about being Black in America. The traumatic experience of slavery, it trickles the dysfunction of what we experienced as a people. And even when you try to, and you do think you're overcoming something, there's always something else on the horizon that you probably can't see that, again, may not have anything to do with you, that ties somewhere back to somewhere in your bloodline that pops up out of nowhere. And you're looking like, really? What is going on? Like, I do know this. You have to draw a line if your family is driving you crazy. And the more I draw the line, the more I dig in my heels and I'm like, you need to figure it out for yourself. And there's nothing I can do for you. I may sound cold But when you grow up in hell, you become overly protective when somebody has abused you, your agency, your personal space of your peace and what you call home, and the people that you bring into this world and you are responsible for. And I have been. I will say it again until I'm blue in the face. I've been taking care of myself since I was 14. So I grew up early because my dad wasn't a man, refused to provide and protect for his family. In this country, you got to get it how you live. I got out and got a job and started taking care of myself. So when me and my son have the conversation of the fact that I've been working for 30 years, we had it maybe a week or so ago. He's like, geez, Mom, really? Yes, I didn't have teenage years. Teenager, what is that? I didn't have the luxury of having somebody take care of me. I had to step up because my mother literally just barely made ends meet, didn't have no help from my father, and then was in getting out of another bad marriage shortly thereafter that. And do you hear me making excuses for myself? No. I figured out what I had to do in order to get out, and then in order to survive, and then in order to succeed. And I've been running that race ever since. When people come to me with the excuses about why they can't and what they can't do, and like, I don't want to hear it, bro. Like, I really do not want to hear the excuses about why something is always being blocked and put in your path and it's an obstacle for you not to be able to overcome, because I done been in the gutter and pulled myself out even when I didn't put myself there from other people's choices. And people would ask me as my son was growing up, why are you so overly protective of him? Because nobody is going to hurt my son the way I was hurt when I was growing up. So that is it for today. This is definitely one of those episodes. It's kind of just me giving raw, authentic truth and telling you, especially Black women, especially women of color, and then just women in general, I don't care what color you are, is like, at some point you got to put boundaries up and protect yourself and take care of yourself, because nobody is going to do it for you. Even when you have kids, even when you have family that drives you crazy, you have to find that place of strength within yourself to say no. No is the best word that I've ever said in my life and will forever continue to say. No. It is a 2-letter word that gives you power back to yourself when you've been giving it away. And if people get mad about it, then that's their issue, not yours. Other people's problems are not your issue. Anyway, thank you for listening. As always, if you like what you've heard, I'll be back in the next episode for part 2 of Back to School. And the Rich Auntie AI Bootcamp is active and live. We are doing an open enrollment starting this week. And so we will have new live trainings every week, every Monday, instead of it being just one specific day. So we can continue to build up the program and teach you how to launch your first digital income stream. I will see you in the next episode. If you like what you heard, give us a 5-star review. If I didn't, I'm saying it now. And y'all gonna have to learn how to find strength within yourself to say no, to stop people from bringing their mess to your doorstep. I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Peace.